Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome. It's the Rich Eisen Show basketball podcast. Coming to you, as always, on a Wednesday. We are smack dab in the middle here of the NBA playoffs, and they have been awesome so far. Can't wait to talk to you guys about it all. And, of course, we'll hit on winning time before we get out the door. TJ, Adam are here. What's up, fellas?
I mean, are my entire championship hopes about to go in flames because of a big thumb? Because it seems like that's the case, right?
Is that where you want to start? You want to start with that, or you want to start with Ja, Adam?
Well, hello, Adam. How are you?
I'm doing well. I mean, my team is about to be eliminated tonight.
By
But
the way,
that's
both
okay.
of you guys could get
That's
eliminated.
okay.
No, I can't. Well, not tonight.
Well, not tonight, but maybe this week. Adam, you're definitely getting eliminated tonight.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna enjoy the last game of the season and enjoy the rest of the playoffs after that without my team in it.
Let's just start with the Bulls then, I guess. They play tonight. Are they in Milwaukee or are they on the road? Where is it? Where is that game tonight?
Yeah, it's in Milwaukee.
Milwaukee.
It's in
tonight.
Milwaukee, so that's basically over. No Alex Caruso, still dealing with concussion and concussion protocols. And then Zach LaVine is in COVID protocols for like the fourth time this year. What is going on with that? Like, that's so bizarre. Is he vaccinated? He must be.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm assuming he is,
But he just keeps getting it and going into protocol.
magically
It's so
keeps
bizarre.
getting COVID.
I feel bad because, like, the Bulls season, you guys definitely overachieved to start the year. You're one of the top teams in the league. LaVine and DeMar DeRozan, just a phenomenal duo. DeMar was probably the best free agent signing of the year.
Yeah.
And then you had so much fun supporting cast. Alex Caruso was a great signing, and he had a great year until he got injured. And Lonzo Ball was just such a great addition as well. Like, the Bulls team was really well constructed. Pat Williams was, I don't want to step on it. I mean, this is your team, but like to just see it kind of unravel like this in the playoffs has to be disappointing. That's all I'm getting at.
Yeah, weird season. Started off, with a lot of optimism with how well the team was playing, but then just injuries plagued the team the whole year. Patrick Williams was out the entire year pretty much. Lonzo was out a good portion of the season, didn't get to play in the playoffs. Zach has been consistently hurt with his knee stuff. Apparently, there's a rumor he's going to be getting knee surgery after the season, so who knows what's going to happen with him in terms of the Bulls signing him to a long-term deal. I'm on the fence if the Bulls should sign him to a max contract right now. The problem is the Bulls are kind of in between a rock and a hard place with Zach LaVine, because I don't think he's necessarily a max player, but they're not going to be better without him. So they might be forced to sign him to a max deal, and I'm nervous about the injuries. So, I think Billy Donovan's a really good coach. I think overall the season has been a success. We made the playoffs. I don't think a lot of people thought that we would make it this year. It's always good to get the young guys playoff experience. Also, Patrick Williams, only 20 years old. I think he has a bright future. He's not ready for the moment right now, but he's had a couple of good games against Milwaukee. Kobe White has been very inconsistent. I don't know if he's part of the Bulls' long-term future. He's just too inconsistent. Really good shooter. He can develop into a good sixth man in another team eventually. So overall, I'm not disappointed with what's happened in this series. I got my hopes up after game 2 after we split the first.
Yeah, absolutely.
But overall, I said before this series I'd be happy if we'd win one game, and we've won a game, so I'm not really even angry, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of a bummer just kind of limp out of the play.
Yeah.
You wanted to put up more of a fight, especially like you said after game 2. You steal one in Milwaukee, and you're like, oh my God, here we go. Can we win this? And then just absolutely get blown out by 30 in game 3. I just didn't see any of that coming.
Yeah, I mean, we had our hopes up because Middleton got injured. And so as a Bulls fan, I was like, wow, like we actually might have a chance. At least we can split the games at home. In games 3 and 4 at the United Center were just crap.
Just duds, yeah.
Just total duds, just laid eggs in both games. Milwaukee adjusted their defense against DeMar DeRozan off the pick and roll. And their role guys, Bobby Portis and Grayson Allen, have been great.
Yeah.
And those are the guys they needed to step up. So it's going to be fun to watch the Celtics and Bucks in the next round.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens with Middleton. If he doesn't come back, those guys have to maintain that play, or else they'll get destroyed by the Celtics.
Yeah. Let's TJ, let's talk about the Sixers. 3-0 start to that series, just dominant. Maxey was amazing. Embiid was showing why he was an MVP. Probably going to be runner-up to Jokic and MVP. And then this thumb just kind of came out of nowhere after the game winner that he hit. It just like popped up. Hey, Embiid's having an MRI on his thumb, and it was kind of a, That can't be good.
Yeah, well, you could tell he hurt the thumb. It could have even been before the game, but the thumb was definitely hurt before he took that shot in game 3.
Yeah.
You know, it's just another case of the playoffs. It's very crucial, right? You have to be a good team, obviously, to go far in the NBA playoffs. But also you need a ton of luck in the form of good health. And it's just so hard with so many games just to go from start to finish healthy. And right now, like I said at the beginning of this, it looks like his entire season is going to rest on his very large, I believe it's his right thumb.
Yeah.
And they're saying
on his shooting hand.
Yeah, on the shooting hand, they're saying that it's always weird because they say it can't get further damage, which I always find weird. Like, I'm sure it could get hurt more, but he's gonna.
Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean? And I said that yesterday on the Big Show, and someone was like, "Well, no, it could get hurt more," and I'm like, "Yeah, I know it could." That's what they are saying. He's gonna have to get surgery after the season, so he's just gonna have to play through it. And I'm sure Joel, he's a big man. Pain tolerance is probably very high, but the fact of the matter is, when you watch him, he's having a hard time gripping the basketball, which is kind of a necessity if you're going to shoot the basketball. So it's just one of those things, guys, where. I'm a Clipper fan, I'm a Sixer fan, and every year injuries seem to curtail one or two of these teams. And right now, because Maxey, who I told you months ago, we definitely need to keep, right? He's showing why he was a player Sixers are very high on, high energy guy, brings a lot to the table, but he's probably a little too young right now at this point in his career to be that official number 2 guy. That's why you had James Harden. Problem being, James Harden, we're getting a version of James Harden. It's not the version that you'd want to be seeing in this situation. And until, unless Harden turns a corner and really steps his game up, the Sixers are in trouble against the Heat next round. And that is providing we get through this first round, which, statistically speaking, you would think they will, being up 3-0, but you just never know, right? So
yeah, it's obviously it's never happened. A 3-0 comeback has never happened. It's only happened in hockey and baseball once. And then even 3-1 is statistically unlikely. It's like something like 95% or something of 3-1s.
But the problem with that statistic is you have a coach who was on the wrong side of that 3 times. So those statistics that number is ballooned. I'm not good at math, but I would think that number balloons.
Which is crazy. Actually, but right before we went on, Doc was speaking this afternoon and kind of threw those teams under the bus a little bit, kind of skirted his part in the 3-1s. He was like, well, in Orlando, we were the 8th seed. And then look at the roster we had.
That's a good point.
Basically, we shouldn't even have been up 3-1. And then the first Clippers one, he was like, Chris Paul didn't play games 1 and 2. And then he was running around on one leg the rest of that series.
Also true.
And then the last series, he's like, we just blew it. And then that's true. They did just blow it. So, Doc has a history here. But I'm just trying to, we mentioned it on the Big Show yesterday, Adam, is like, this Philly James Harden thing is really real. Looking at his numbers, he's shooting 37% in this playoffs. If you take out his 7 for 13 game, the overtime win in game 3, he's under 30%. He's not getting to the free throw line.
Which is a huge part of his game.
Only had double-digit free throws in one game, game 4. And he's not scoring. His high is 22 in game 4 and game 1. What is going on with this dude?
That's a really good question, because I remember when the trade first happened, we were all excited. Yeah. We thought that he would. Remember we were talking about it.
Absolutely.
That he would thrive in the pick and roll with Embiid. And I'm pretty sure the first couple games he had with Philadelphia, he played great.
Monster games.
And I don't really know what's happened. I mean, it's definitely since he joined the Nets, I think that there's been a decline, at least athletically, from his prime with the Rockets. So maybe it's just come to a point where he's played enough games where this is now where we're seeing James Harden post-prime. And it's just we're seeing in real time the decline of a once great player becoming not such a great player anymore. And I don't know if it's the system that isn't working or, he's out of shape. I don't think he's necessarily out of shape or anything like that. I just think he's just maybe just not as good as we expected from him. And he's just not the superstar he is anymore. And so it's tough for Philadelphia because you thought you were getting another bona fide superstar, and he's just
You're
not.
getting a top 10 player.
He's just not that guy, and maybe it'll take another offseason playing in that system to really thrive for him. I'm not counting that he'll just be, playing this bad forever, but it might take another offseason for him to develop chemistry with these guys to become a more consistent player.
Yeah,
So I
we
don't really know.
Yeah, we mentioned it, TJ, at the trade, when it went down, there was only 20, 25 games maybe
24, I think.
left in the regular season then.
Yep.
And obviously not enough time to fully gel, but you can kind of get a feel for your teammates. Is his lifestyle, his partying, the club life, and then no sleep, wake up, score 50, obviously those days are way over.
Yeah.
But is that caught up with him? Is it just, you kind of heard the rumors of what put him on the outs with Kevin Durant was that he showed up to Nets camp out of shape.
Yeah.
Is that catching up with him at this point? He's had hamstring injuries each of the last few postseasons.
That has something to do with it.
Is that catching up with him? The guy's 32, which doesn't seem very old, but it feels like a 32-year-old with a ton of miles on his body.
Well, Rich Eisen, host of the Rich Eisen Show, the big show. Yeah.
Right.
He said yesterday, I believe, it's these guys taking care of their body, because we all know we're all of a certain age. The way your body reacts and responds when you're 24,
Man, shit hurts.
completely different when you're 34, right? And and my Lord, when you get to 44, it's just like, wow, when did I take still chair shots to my back because they hurt? So, at some point, guys, and we were talking about this yesterday after the show. At some point, you have these athletes, right? And they're supremely athletically gifted, right? And they are so good. God has literally reached out and blessed these men and women with such athletic skill that a lot of times, a lot of them don't do the little things to make them good and ensure that they have continued success, right? A lot of times people will rely on their physical abilities. As you get older, though, your athleticism will always tend to decline. LeBron being like an outlier, it's just ridiculous what he's been able to consistently do at such a high level. But for most people, you have to make a decision when you get to a certain age. It's like, do you continue on the path you're going on, or do you make changes that, help change your body, to help you do a little bit better as you get older? And especially when you're an athlete, that's tantamount. You need to do these things to ensure that you're going to continue to play your sport at a high level. And you're right. I don't know what James Harden's doing. We know the rumors and we know the innuendos.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. He could be in the gym right now for all I know. But it does seem like all those years of all the stuff we heard, the strip clubs and this, that, and the third, and the late nights, and I see him on yachts in Marina Del Rey in the offseason. Maybe it is caught up to him, because the James Harden I'm watching, man, he's not the James Harden that I was watching 2 years ago, dropping 39, 40 points a game for the Houston Rockets. It's just not the same guy. He seems a little tentative. He seems a little not sure of himself. Maybe it's the hamstring. I don't know. But it's definitely not the same James Harden not the James Harden I was expecting and hoping.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys are like this too, Adam. When I go to games, I like to get there a little early. I like to watch warm-ups.
Yeah, always.
And NBA warm-ups.
Well, you know me, Chris. I have a little time issue, so I rarely get there that early.
I know,
to see
TJ.
warm-ups.
You show up late to your own funeral, right? NBA players are not like us when we go out and shoot around.
No.
Okay, when we go out and shoot around, if we make 40%, maybe 50% on a good day, maybe 70% from the free throw line, man, I'm psyched.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I'm at that point in my hoops life where I'm psyched by that, right? NBA players don't miss in warm-ups.
No, even the worst the people that you think are the worst players
Yes.
in the entire league don't miss during warm-ups.
So
Right.
in 2008, during that Celtics championship run,
I knew you were going
I
there
went
with this.
to I went to a bunch of games. I went to a bunch of games that year. Boston was 90 minutes from my house. I went to a bunch of games. By far, the quote-unquote worst player on the team was Brian Scalabrine, okay? Didn't play much, right? You can look up his stats from that year. I only watched Scal in warm-ups. Only watched him because it was fascinating. I never saw him miss a shot, ever. Ever, ever, ever. He never missed a shot. So a few weeks ago, Philly was playing the Clippers out here, and we went down, we took Cage, we thought that was a good idea. It wasn't. Don't bring your toddler to an NBA game. He made it one quarter. We left after the first quarter. But we were there super early. because Staples opened early, or crypto, whatever, and we went in there and we walked around. Warm-ups was happening. Paul George was getting a workout in. He wasn't back yet, but he was working out. Embiid was doing his thing. It was really cool to see how big that dude actually is in person. We were pretty close to the floor. Harden comes out. He's wearing the sweatpants. He's wearing the long sleeve, tucked in, tight, big headphones, and he's going through his pregame shooting drill. He might have shot 35%. Like, he was just missing everything. And I thought that was so bizarre because whenever I've gone to games, I've been going to NBA games for 20 years. Guys shoot 90% in warm-ups. It's crazy how good they are. And James was missing everything. And I just thought it was so weird. I'd never seen anything like that before from a guy who is an MVP in this league. I don't know. I don't know if I'm reading too much into it. Maybe he was just screwing around. I don't know. But even when guys screw around in the NBA, they still make everything.
Yeah.
I just couldn't get past it.
Maybe it's a confidence issue. I mean, this guy has always played with a lot of confidence, but maybe after a few games he's not playing that well, he starts to get into his head, and he's never really had that before happen.
Well, so playoffs-wise, though, Adam, that's I think the issue.
That does happen with him. It does happen
to him in the playoffs.
Right.
And that's always been kind of the one knock on James Harden.
Well, yeah, no, that's a good point, but I was saying in general, like, him just, like, kind of falling off a level. Like, he's always been considered, like, the one superstar. But now it's like, well, maybe he's, like, the second or third best player.
Remember a few years ago, I don't know if it was Daryl who said this, Daryl Morey, or just maybe someone on First Take or somebody was just like, yeah, he's the greatest two-guard scorer since Kobe and Mike, you know? And then it's just like, you look at some of these games, and he's just like an afterthought.
I mean, if he doesn't change his lifestyle or whatever is happening for him, it's always going to be a problem with his resume, with the fact that
the postseason stuff.
The postseason stuff. It's he's being compared to Kobe and Dwayne Wade and Michael in terms of scoring, and it's like, well, those guys all stepped up and won championships in the playoffs. If he can't even make the finals, he did with OKC, but if he can't win,
he was a sixth man back then, though. He was the guy in Houston. They came so close. Chris Paul doesn't get hurt. Maybe they do win the title that year. Who knows? One of a great what if. But obviously the Nets thing was an unmitigated disaster, and now he forced himself out to Philadelphia. And man, we talked about this too. Like, if they somehow lose this series, I can't even think about the domino effect that's going to have for this team and across the league.
Doc has to be fired. If the Sixers lose a series, Doc has to be gone. You can't keep him if you're up 3-0 and lose. You just can't. You can't. And TJ, I mean, I don't want to say this about your team. I don't even really want to speculate. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think they're going to lose. I imagine it'll go to Game 7, but they'll probably win at home. I have no idea. TJ, have some faith.
I have no idea.
Come on, TJ.
I have no idea.
I believe in the Sixers for this round.
I want to, like I said, of course I'm rooting and I want to believe.
But Doc's gone, Harden's gone. A lot of the role players are going to be gone. It's really just Maxey and Embiid after that, right? If they somehow lose.
But also, one of you guys, I think it was one of the two of you brought it up earlier when the trade happened, and I was like, "Look, guys, there's only 24 games for them to gel."
True.
So I would hate. I'm hesitant to say blow it up.
Yeah,
when this team
hasn't
had a full season, but 3-0, that puts you in the history books on the wrong end of the history book forever. So it's hard to say what would happen. I mean, Philadelphia and their fans. Like, my Lord, I'm hoping it doesn't happen because things will burn and people will
horses
revolt.
Will get punched
and Crumb Bum guy will be making more videos and. I just gotta hold faith. I'm not really thinking that we're gonna win this game 6. Something in my mind says this is gonna go 7 now.
I think so too.
I hope I'm wrong, but it's just kind of where my head's at with this team.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
All right. Speaking of disappointments, the Brooklyn Nets.
Wow. Well, first of all, let me say this. And I hate this. It's loathing. It makes me want to vomit.
I know it's going to hurt you.
Like,
it's okay.
Adam, sometimes we just say random stuff, right? And sometimes you don't believe the stuff that you say, but you say it just on the slight, just way out there chance that you might be right. You could be like, oh, I said it. And if you're wrong, no one's going to remember it. We all do stuff like that, right?
Just take culture. Come on.
Yeah, but I'll say this. Chris Brockman did say that this Celtics would sweep the nets, and he tweeted it. And I think I'm about to throw up in my mouth.
It's okay.
But he did say it, and I don't know. I don't believe that he really in his heart believed it, but he said it and he tweeted it. So it's that. So congratulations, Chris Brockman. Your Celtics swept the nets. So.
Chris, did you bet on that? Did you bet on a series?
Yeah. I took the sweep bet. It was a big payout, which was super nice. And look,
okay, so you put your money on it.
Yeah, it's one of those things.
He put his money.
It is one of the things you just kind of say like this. I think Suns in 4 guy kind of started everyone going, my team in 4, which is pretty funny. But they were the better team, top to bottom. They were arguably the best team in the league since mid-January. And I didn't think it was possible when you watch them the first few months of the year. It took a lot of time for them to get used to Ime Udoka's system. Ime called these guys out in the media, which I don't think a lot of them are used to. The rumors started up again of the trade Jaylen Brown, break up Tatum and Brown. What is Marcus Smart doing? Is he really your point guard? Robert Williams, is he really a guy that can anchor your defense? Do they have enough shooting? Remember they had Dennis Schroeder at the beginning of the year?
Yeah.
I mean, that was a nightmare. Josh Richardson, that was a nightmare. But, he got rid of those 2 guys. Brad made some really good moves. And here we are. A 4-0 sweep of Brooklyn, who are, title contenders when the season started. Team with a lot of drama around it. The Ben Simmons thing. Nobody ever thought he was actually going to play, right? That was all just kind of BS. But very happy, obviously very psyched as a Celtics fan. We've seen Tatum kind of really launch himself into the top 8 maybe discussion, whatever, however you want to rank the best players in the league. I think you have to include Jason Tatum in that conversation now. I believe he will be first team All-NBA this year, if not second team. Obviously a massive accomplishment to be considered a top 10 player in the league. Marcus Smart, man, defensive player of the year. Say what you want about this guy. I've said plenty about him over the years. Not all great stuff. He makes my shot selection look phenomenal. Like, this guy just takes every bad shot known to man, but he's really smartened up his play. He had 20 points and 11 assists in the closeout game against Brooklyn. He's really turned into an amazing, maybe not amazing, but a very good point guard in the NBA. Obviously, he was defensive player of the year. And, now Robert Williams is back, and now presumably to face a Brooklyn team, a Milwaukee team without Chris Middleton perhaps for the whole series. I don't know why there's any reason the Celtics can't win that series. And then if Jimmy Butler is really banged up, maybe a banged up Heat team in the second round in the conference finals, and maybe go, I don't know. I'm trying to keep my expectations kind of limited here, but it's a team that can win the championship. And I think that's really exciting because when the season started, that was not any of our expectations.
No. I remember on this podcast we talked about when we were ranking the Eastern Conference teams, they were not even a team that we thought would be in contention originally. We had them in that
they were
5th,
like
6th,
5.
7th
Yeah,
here.
exactly.
I definitely disrespected them a little bit.
Yeah. But I think when the podcast started too, it was kind of rightfully so. Like, what had they really done to earn your trust to think we can go into Milwaukee and win a 7-game series?
Yeah, we had them around that 5th spot, right? Like you said.
It was like 5, 6, something like that.
Fairly accurate for, like you said, for the time.
But it was one of those things too. Could they go into Philadelphia and win a 7-game series? Because Philly's kind of had our number this year, and they don't really have anyone to guard Joel Embiid. But when you watch the way they play perimeter defense and the way they switch on the wings, take away Kyrie's 39-point game 1, basically didn't do anything in this series. Kevin Durant, aside from game 4, didn't do anything in this series. When was the last time you saw Kevin Durant get his shot blocked?
Right.
And Tatum
really
did
happen.
it multiple times. He tried to laugh it off when they asked him about him just to not really piss off Durant, but I just never seen a team play, the kind of team defense that they did against Brooklyn. And now they're going to go against kind of a one-man team now in Milwaukee without Chris Middleton. And kind of like you said before, Milwaukee's going to really need those wing guys to step up. Grayson Allen, Bobby Portis, McConnaughton's going to have to hit some shots. So It's fun. It's fun and then nice. Now we got a little rest here. Hopefully Chicago can win a game tonight.
Don't count on it.
And kind of keep that series going. But.
Yeah, you're sitting pretty right now.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Celtics Nation
it's
is
fun.
sitting pretty
It's
too.
been fun to watch. Those were man. They were all close games. All 4 games decided by a total of 18 points. I mean, Chicago had a 30-point win by itself. So those were tight, exciting games. Definitely conference finals, NBA finals types games, which can only help. That just adds to your experience of playing in that environment. Hostile road crowd, your home crowd's into it.
And it gives the Celtics a ton of confidence. Knowing that they could beat a team that had 2 of the arguably top 10 best players in the league. And they beat that team. Not only did they beat that team, they destroyed that team.
Yeah.
So now going against Giannis doesn't seem so insurmountable.
And talk about the domino effect, too. By the dismantling of them, they now send Brooklyn into an off-season of, man, what changes do we have to make? Are we going to fire our coach? Are we going to break up the supporting cast around Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving? Like, now Brooklyn has this big offseason of, like, whoa. It's kind of like the Lakers. I mean, I kind of, like, jokingly threw out that poll question, but, I mean, is Brooklyn a bigger disappointment than the Lakers this year?
Ooh.
That's tough. I mean, I'd say the Lakers are more of a disappointment because they couldn't even make the play-in game. Like, that's just, like, so pathetic. But yeah, I mean, it's really pathetic. Like nobody thought that they wouldn't even make the play-in game. So I'd say they're a little more of a disappointment. But the fact that the Nets couldn't win 1 game in the first round, like I had them going. I assumed actually Ben Simmons would come back for games, at least game 3 and 4.
I thought he would play right when the trade happened.
Yeah, we knew that wasn't happening.
No, but didn't you think that possibly it was like, look, it's a Philly thing. I don't want to play there. I don't want to play there. I don't want to be with this team anymore. I don't want to be with Joel. I don't want to be with Doc. Now I'm in Brooklyn. Great, I'm back.
I mean, I thought he was.
That's kind of what I thought.
I thought he was going to play after that away game in Philly because I said there's no way this guy will play in Philadelphia. There's absolutely no chance.
Right.
His head will explode. But I thought he would at least play towards the end of the season and get warmed up and ready for the first rounds. But no, he's just chilling in his lambskin outfit on the bench.
And it's funny you brought that up, Adam, because we talked about this on the big show yesterday. Like, normally, a lot of times people like to get on social media when a player doesn't wear, blue jeans and a tank top, then any type of dress that people look at it will be a little too out there. They have issues with, like the Cam Newtons and people, that type of dress. So a lot of people were getting on Ben Simmons about his outfits for this playoff series, and I don't care. Like, I feel it this way, if you've worked your butt off enough that you can afford to wear something that makes you stand out, do it. But in the case of Ben, when everything you do is being scrutinized and everyone's going to be looking at you, you're sitting there on a sideline with everyone dressed in black, and you're looking like a pack of Skittles, and you're real, and you're 7 feet tall, and you're sitting there, and you got your ankles are exposed from the calf down, and you're just that's the outfit that you choose to wear. It's like you're not really trying your best to blend in. That eyes are already on you, and it's just you're inviting more scrutiny in. Is all I'm saying. So I don't know what the problem is. If it really is a mental issue, then by all means do whatever you need to do to get yourself right. But it's just like sometimes he put himself in a position by doing some of the things that he did, just by the clothing he wore, that allowed people to continue to pile on him. And
yeah,
it's just
kind of like we talk about, it's optics. Rich talks about it all the time. Everything is optics. And if you're on the bench, kind of looking ridiculous, when you're supposedly getting your mind right, getting your health right, getting your physical well-being right, what are you doing?
Yeah. And again, like I said,
he didn't even show up to Game 4. He wasn't even there. Game 3 was the Skittles game where he was wearing all the weird colors.
Because we thought there was a chance he could play in Game 4. Then once they lost, there was like, there ain't no way this dude's playing.
Why is he coming back when it's 3-0?
Yeah.
And you have to believe that Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are upset with the fact that he didn't play.
Have to.
Because they have a limited amount of time left in their prime years. And essentially this year was wasted in part because Ben Simmons couldn't play in this series. It's a part of it. I really think that they could have won the series if he would have played in the end of the regular season and then been ready for this playoff matchup. And the fact that he couldn't even do 1 game, it destroyed their chances.
Good point. But if we're going to put blame on anyone It's not the guy who was there for 24 games who hadn't played all year.
That's
like, if
true.
you're going to point fingers at the Nets, then you got to, all fingers need to be pointed at the point guard.
Yeah, of course.
Because Kyrie, and I'm not one to sit here and tell somebody, take the shot, don't take the shot. But, like, when you say, like Brockman said the other day, when you're claiming that you guys did everything you could possibly do.
We exhausted every avenue.
You didn't. You didn't do things that you could have done to have, got you more ingrained. I don't know how many games Kyrie played this year, but it wasn't even half of them. So how can you even have chemistry? I'm willing to bet chemistry, like the only thing pH balanced in that Nets locker room was the shampoo. Okay, like, let's just be honest. I don't know about the chemistry there. And if you're going to point fingers, obviously it can't be at Ben Simmons because he came late. Kyrie, it was a Kyrie circus all year, and I'm sure
he played 29 games.
29 games, and I'm sure KD, who could have gone anywhere, right? He could have made his decision. He could have stayed with Golden State. They'd probably have 2 more rings. He could have went anywhere. I don't think his heart was in playing for the Nets, by the way. I really believe his heart was probably into playing for the Knicks, but that was a whole crap show in its own, so he didn't go there. He kind of stayed in New York and went to Brooklyn. I don't know how much he feels like, this is his spot and this is where he wants to end his career. I know he has an extension. I don't know how he's going to get out of it, but I don't know. I just feel like we can crap on Ben Simmons, but the majority of the pile up has to be on Kyrie.
Yeah, and I don't know if, maybe he would. He's active on Twitter right now. He's going after everybody. I don't wonder if he would ever admit that, hitching his wagon to Kyrie was a bad idea, or if he has any regrets over that.
Yeah, Brockman, you had to think, right? Because you're with Golden State, and people are chirping, right? They're like, "Oh, you're not the bus driver," blah blah blah. But
he was Finals MVP both years.
No matter what you say, and the fact that we even have to defend Kevin Durant and his basketball ability from online trolls is amazing to me. I don't care how much basketball you've watched. Kevin Durant's one of the 20 greatest players that you've ever watched. I'm pretty sure.
For sure he's top 20.
Yeah, so you look at all that. If he would have stayed in Golden State, right? Yeah, you were going to always have the people say you hitched your wagon, but like we said, he was the best player on 2 championship teams. Yeah. He could have stayed there
forever. They would have just kept winning.
But the Draymond thing happened, so we don't know.
Right.
That's an ego. It's an ego thing because Kevin Durant is sensitive. No matter what he says, Kevin Durant is sensitive. He let the trolls get to him, and the trolls constantly said you had to ring chase. You had to go chase with Steph and Draymond and Clay. And so I think in his head he wanted to prove he can be the guy, the number one guy on his own team. And he hasn't proved that yet so far. So I think that deep down inside still bugs him to this day. I really believe that.
Yeah. You're probably right.
Right. But my point being, like, things could have been different for Kevin Durant. He could have just turned off. That's the other thing. When people talk about a lot of crap online, you know what I do when I'm annoyed with Twitter? I don't go on Twitter. It's really very simple. It's not that hard.
He can't do it.
I was annoyed. I'll be honest with you guys. When the whole situation with Colin Kaepernick leaning, and we can move on after this, Colin Kaepernick, I said kneeling, I'm sorry, happened a few years ago. People on Facebook who I was friends with were expressing their thoughts on the whole kneeling thing. And I was like, that is not even remotely close to what this man is talking about. And I got to the point where I started to find myself annoyed with people. So instead of fighting with them or making a grand gesture, I simply went to the page and I logged off. I said, I can't deal with this. And I stayed off of Facebook for 3 years, right? It's not that hard. Like, you don't have to pay attention to the mouth breathers, and they're out there, and they're going to outnumber you. And it's a fight that, trust me, you can't win because there's bots upon bots upon bots, and this algorithm will allow this hatred to come spewing in from people who aren't even real, and accounts that aren't even real. So it's like,
I think Kevin Durant secretly likes.
I think he does like the smoke.
The hate, though, and he likes.
But it's exhausting.
He totally does.
It's exhausting, though, because, like I said, it's a fight that you just simply can't win.
All right, let's move on real quick because we haven't even talked about the West.
Yeah, let's move to the West.
And the West has 2 amazing series going on right now. So let's start with Memphis and Minnesota. And I'm just going to throw it out there, and then we can react. And we're going to overreact because it just happened. But was that the greatest in-game dunk ever by Ja last night over Malik Beasley?
Ooh,
I mean, that's a stretch.
ever.
That's a stretch.
He murdered that man.
Yeah, but there's
It's
been
up there.
It's a great dunk, but to say think about the amount of times that we've seen people get bodied. I mean, it's up there. I can't say it's the greatest.
It's not better than Vince Carter.
No, definitely.
But is it
No.
number 2?
It's not better than LeBron remember when LeBron
The Trailblazers game?
yes, the Portland center, why am I drawing a blank on
is
his
it
name?
Nurkic?
Nurkic, yeah, and I
yeah.
like him too. LeBron he bodied that man. Like the chalk
I don't know,
outline is
man.
still there.
Okay, yes,
Go-
true.
go back and watch it.
But that's a big man. That's 6'9",
Yeah.
okay? Ja's like
6'3".
Yeah, maybe. Soaking wet, 150 pounds.
And the way he brought the ball
The
back.
way he
yeah.
cocked it back,
Boom.
like that one picture, the ball is so far back.
Yeah.
And then he just hammers it.
And the amazing part about that dunk is usually when somebody tries to do that, they either miss the dunk or it's an offensive foul.
Right.
And he's done it a lot, Adam, where he's
Yeah.
gone up and missed many
Oh, yeah.
dunks but where he took
Goes
off,
for it. And where he took off.
he took off half a foot inside the dotted line.
It was crazy.
The
But
one,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Adam.
The one dunk that is my personal favorite, this is going way back, was Scottie Pippen over Patrick Ewing
man.
in
That's a good one.
1994.
That was ignorant.
Where he
Good one.
dunked over him, he threw him to the ground, he stepped over him, and then he looked at Spike Lee
Yeah.
and said,
I mean, then you also have
know,
like the Tom
that's a good
Chambers
one.
on Mark Jackson dunk where he put his knee in Mark Jackson's sternum, and Mark Jackson's sternum actually elevated Tom Chambers up another 3 inches, and he cocked the hammer and just crapped on him. That's one of the greatest. I mean, it's really hard, but
I know.
in terms of recency bias,
Recency
that's the
bias,
best
like, it was
dunk
the
I've seen
greatest
all
dunk
month.
ever. It was crazy.
It was ridiculous. And the fact that, let's get to that game, right? Going back and forth, the lead changes. Cat hits a 3. T-Wolves up 13. He's blowing the kiss as Ryan Leaf, who guest hosted today the show, said it was really weird the way. But I figured out maybe it's because these NBA players, their hands are so big. That's why their fingers go up
just
so high
looks-
when
it
they're
just
trying to
looks like
shush you.
it.
And then Grizz come back, and then, Jaw scores, and then Anthony Edwards in that corner 3, the pass
Tie
by
the game?
McDaniels, that bounce pass was so sick.
Yeah.
Caught Ant in the corner, bam, hit the shot, and then Jaw came down.
That whole game was bananas.
Yeah.
Like, think about that Ja dunk, right? That was end of the third quarter. They're down 13.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we need a good shot. No, I'm going to posterize this dude.
Yeah.
And then that started a whole run.
The whole run, yep.
Ja scored the last 16 points in the game. He was missing everything early. He had missed a ton of free throws, and he just took over. God, watching that game also just makes me think about Zion, too, of just like what we're missing by Zion being out, these types of performances. Ja just, obviously, he's way ahead of Zion in terms of the best player in that draft. But Memphis is such a fun team. This is such a fun series. The Timberwolves love nothing more than blowing double-digit 20-point lead. How many leads are they going to blow? This series should be over by now. Like, they should have won in 4 games, 5 games maybe at the most. But credit to Memphis, their coaching staff, their players. They have great, tough-nosed guys. Brandon Clark, Desmond Bane. Who's the other shooter? Brooks. Like, these
Got
guys are
Jaren
really
Jackson on the
fun and
squad.
gritty. Jaren Jackson fouled out last night. Like, man, they just never quit. They never say die, and they're really fun to watch.
Again, though, the Timberwolves were a play-in. They technically shouldn't even have made the play-up. So
Yeah,
to say that
true,
they
but they're
should have,
talented,
they're
though. They're so
talented. But I'm
talented.
saying to say that they should have won.
Well, I'm just
it's
saying
just
by
like-
the games, they've had leads in every
have had
game.
it, yeah.
That's kind of what
They
I
just
mean,
make dumb mistakes and dumb decisions every game, it feels like.
Yeah.
I think they're a more talented team. I think they have, obviously.
Well, you called them the upset before.
And and who knows now? I'm still gonna go with it. I'm still gonna say Wolves in 7.
Okay, well, why not?
I don't want to flip flop. But yeah, you're right though. They should have won the series by now with
It feels
how
like
they
it.
played.
Yeah, it feels like it.
But all that matters is playing tough and playing smart at the end, and they haven't done that though.
Yeah.
They've shown their lack of experience big time.
And another thing about this, real quick, we have a group chat for the basketball podcast, and I text you guys. One thing I like is the aesthetic of the Grizzlies. I like the matching yellow tights and the
do a
shooting
good job.
That's a great look.
Because one of the weird things about me is like one thing I don't like, and I always loved this as a kid, when your uniform. Your sneakers would match your main uniform color. Like that was always like I used to love that. That was a big thing. And now when you got guys who like wear green uniforms but like pink shoes and not that I dislike pink, I'm just like or have red uniforms but like your
Also,
shoes are orange. Like
DiVincenzo does it. He wears when Milwaukee wears the green, he always wears bright red shoes that don't match.
Yeah,
Dude, come on.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying no one in Memphis does that, 'cause it knows that the sneakers don't match, but at least they got like their tights, the shooting sleeves,
and
the yellow
socks.
like this. So yeah, I like their aesthetic that
I'm
they got
bringing
going out.
back to the 90s Bulls. I remember for all the 90s playoff games, the Bulls would all wear black shoes. They would never wear black in the regular season. It was all white, but once the playoffs hit, every single player wore black shoes, and that was a thing. So I kind of like that. Like the Memphis is kind of doing a similar thing with that, with the yellow tights.
Yeah, I dig it. I like I
cool.
said, I like
Yeah,
their
the matching
moves.
is cool. They're a really fun team. And also, man, Phoenix is in for it, right? I mean, New Orleans, a lot of credit to them. They play so tough. Brandon Ingram, I think, has launched himself kind of into superstar status as well. CJ McCollum, we didn't know what that move was going to look like. We didn't know how it was going to work out. He's been awesome. He's a walking bucket. This Alvarado guy.
Might be my favorite player from the playoffs so far this year.
Really?
Yeah.
He is crazy. He's like a little Tasmanian devil
Yeah,
out there.
you
It's
gotta like
awesome.
guys like that, man. And it goes back to our Patrick Beverly conversation where Brockman has issue with Patrick
I hate
Beverly.
Pat Bev.
But Adam and I are like, look, man, you need a Patrick Beverly on your team to be successful, and it might be a guy who might have far more talent than Patrick Beverly. Like I said, Kevin Garnett, if he wasn't Kevin Garnett and had that body and that build, he would be a Patrick Beverly. Marcus Smart is a Patrick Beverly. You know, the Draymond Green is a Patrick Beverly. Now, these guys are more talented basketball players, granted, but that mindset that we're going to hound you for 94 feet and you're not going to get anything easy. And you know what? Normally you can check the ball in and walk it up and not worry. No, I'm going to dog you. And that's what this kid from New Orleans has, man. Like that still he had a Chris Paul when Chris does his famous like palm the ball, which never gets called, but it kind of could get called.
Never.
And he stole the ball at the end of the game and he was in Chris Paul's jersey.
Oh, yeah,
And
he
was
made him
just
do
like,
an 8-second count.
yeah, it's
in
just
the
Twice.
backcourt.
They had like two in a row.
He's that kind of kid, man, who like, you know what? If I'm on that court, like, I don't know what his background is. I'll probably research it now because I didn't know we were going to talk about it. But I'm telling you, he's a kid probably came from a low D1 school, didn't have many offers.
I think he grew up in Queens. He grew
Okay,
up in Queens, so he's
gritty,
probably
man,
tough,
and
gritty,
he's
yeah.
coming, and he's not afraid. And he said in the post game, he goes, "Mad respect to Chris Paul, but like, I'm here to make a name for myself."
Well, he played at Georgia Tech.
Okay.
I like his sneaky maneuver where he hides in the
chases
corner.
you from
He hides
behind.
in
Yeah.
the corner. He's made it work a bunch of times. Chris Paul got the hang of it though. He's like, get out of my face right now.
Yeah,
I mean,
Chris.
it's not like he's doing really all that much out there. He's only playing. I mean, he played 20 minutes last night. That was the most he's
Yeah,
played
but Chris,
in the playoffs.
that's a hard 20 minutes
what I
on
mean.
whoever
Yeah,
he's guarding,
yeah.
man. Like you're not having an easy 20 minutes when that kid's out in that court.
It's amazing because the Pelicans right now are playing significant minutes to 3 rookies. You have him, Herb
Right.
Jones, and Murphy. And so that team is competing with 3 rookies playing. I can't remember if that's ever happened before.
By the way, I'm a Herb Jones fan too, man. I like this kid plays
Stretch.
D, rebound,
Yeah.
stretch, got those go-go gadget, Plastic Man long arms and stuff, and he's fun to watch. Herb Jones is another one of those guys where like you get yourself a few Herb Jones on your team, you're going to do well. And I just keep going back to looking at this and thinking if Zion was playing right now with Devin Booker out, I think this series would be a completely different story, but I don't know what the Zion deal is, fellas. I'd love to see him out there. And if for some reason, if the Pels are able to beat Phoenix, you got to get this man some minutes. I don't care if it's 5 minutes a game. You got to get him on that court.
Is Devin Booker coming back for Game 6
It was like a 3-4 week injury, right?
Someone
Like,
tweeted
sure,
that he
yeah.
might come back. Yeah, I don't think he's coming back. I'm kind of with Howard Beck. He was on the big show today with Ryan. I think this is going 7. I think New Orleans wins. I think both go 7. I think New Orleans wins Game 6. I think Toronto wins Game 6. I think we have a couple of first round Game 7s.
New Orleans, Toronto, and what about Memphis, Minnesota?
I think the Grizz close it out. I think they go up to Minnesota, win Game 6. And then what's the other one? I think Dallas wins Game 6. I think that's over too.
that is pretty much the
Luka's
most.
Luka's on another level.
That's an unpredictable series
Yeah.
right there. That Dallas series, I don't know what's going on there every game, but it's interesting.
Luka pulling all the okey doke stuff on Gobert, and then they had the camera close up where he's like, "Can't guard me, can't guard me. This MFer can't guard me."
That's Luka, man. He talks mad trash. Yeah.
I love Luka. Luka's our Larry Bird right now.
And by the
really
way,
is.
yeah, Luka's another guy, right? We talked about James Harden and like his lifestyle. The year, that offseason that Luka Doncic decides, you know what? I'm going to
work out.
I'm going to stay. I'm not going to go home. I'm not going to smoke stogies and drink and eat. I'm going to stay in Dallas and maybe work with, CD Lamb's trainer or something like that.
Yeah,
when
somebody.
Luka decides that he's going to put it down,
Chris Brickley,
it is going to be all bad. It's going to be all bad.
Luka's,
It's already all
I'm
bad.
going to hit the weights. I'm going to get shredded. Like, the guy has no muscle tone. Like, he's just kind of out there. But nobody can stop him.
Nobody can stop him, yeah.
He plays like old man ball in a weird way. He's not fast.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, he can continue this lifestyle. Obviously, it might catch up with him. But the difference between him and Harden's game is Harden relied a lot about speed and power, and Luka's more crafty.
Yeah.
So obviously, he definitely needs to, like what you said, TJ, he needs to get in better shape. He needs to work out. But I guess he can afford more than somebody like Harden to not work out as much because he relies so much on his IQ and his craftiness.
Yeah, but by saying that, you're saying that James Harden. See, that's the argument that sometimes people use. Like, you say Luka with his ID and Harden was his athleticism.
Harden's crafty.
Harden's very crafty and has a high basketball IQ.
Harden is crafty, but a lot of the times he would use his quick first step though to get ahead of people.
Yeah, but I mean that's just an argument that sometimes people use that I wanted to like put a pit like. Deflate that to say, well, this guy he's a high IQ guy, and this guy he's just athletic. Like I know that's not what you meant.
Yeah, they're both high IQ guys, and James Harden is very crafty. But I'm just saying, in terms of athleticism, he relies way more on that than Luka does.
I'll give
you that.
I would say Harden's much more athletic at his peak than Luka is, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Harden's also one of those guys. He's like, I feel like he's underrated strong.
Yeah. Well, I forget who was calling the game the other day was saying that about Harden. Like, you would not
He's thick.
understand and believe how strong this guy is because he's sneaky big. Like, you're not sure how big James Harden is, right? Is he 6'3"? Is he 6'8"? I don't know. Like,
Right.
he's 6'5". But, he just falls in that category where you're not
Is he
just
240? Is he 220?
250? Who knows? But the guy gets to the rack. Well, he used to get to the rack at will, and I wish.
And that's kind of the problem with him. He's lost that first step a little bit.
First step, yeah.
All right, we've been talking for a long time. Just quick predictions.
Oh, I guess we're gonna just ignore. Might as well Golden State. I think we all agree that.
I think that's
that series
over, right?
Is pretty much.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much.
I think it's over tonight. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. All right, so those are over. We think Toronto, Philly goes 7.
Unfortunately,
we think New Orleans, Phoenix goes 7.
I'm going to say Phoenix closes it out in 6.
Utah and Dallas goes 7. I'm just trying to get how many we think goes 7.
I think that one goes 7.
So do I.
Yeah.
And then Minnesota and Memphis 7.
Yeah.
So going back to Minnesota, right? I'm going to say,
right
I think Minnesota
so we
gets
get
this
3
one.
game 7s. That's exciting. All right, we'll have that to talk about. All right, let's do winning time in like 5 minutes because we've already been here long enough. We didn't talk about it last week. So episodes 7 and 8, winning time. We're now into the thick of the NBA season.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Westhead has got his ground. Him and Pat Riley doing the coaching thing.
Yep.
That's been kind of fun to watch.
They're in their groove.
Magic NBA star. We went to the All-Star game. We had we saw him talking to Dr. J.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. J kind of played him a little bit. That was kind of fun to watch. What did you guys think of these 2 episodes? Any major problems?
Why do you think Dr.
This?
J played him? I thought Dr. J was trying to kind of impart some wisdom.
Well, he was doing the thing of like, let me be nice to you, and then let me rip your heart out during the game.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I mean? Kind of the Jordan used to do that.
Good point.
Who else? Jerry West was talking to Magic about how Bill Russell used to do that to Wilt.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. When he came
I thought that was really cool.
I'm sorry, Chris.
That was a really cool scene.
You're right, and I completely forgotten about that. So you're right.
Yeah.
That is, I guess, Jerry saw Doc doing that. I guess maybe, obviously, I didn't see the good doctor doing it that way,
right.
but Jerry did, and that was a great scene when he came in the locker room
that was
and
really
just
cool.
like, look, and he kind of gave Magic some, gave him some game, essentially.
Like, what do you want to do? Are you going to be a killer, or you want to smile and make everyone happy?
Because apparently that was Jerry's thing from the episode 1.
Right.
He thought Magic was too happy. He thought he smiled too much and he couldn't be a killer.
And that's
on
kind
the
of what
court.
Kareem said too, albeit for different reasons. I really love that scene with Kareem and Magic's dad over Christmas. That was really cool too. What did you guys think about these 2 episodes? Any major issues? I know I have one major issue.
I have an issue.
Okay, what do you got?
I don't think that Dr. J looks anything like the real Dr. J.
Yeah.
And I know it's tough to cast these people, but the fact that they did such an incredible job casting Quincy Isaiah as Magic, and he looks so much like him, Then I saw Dr. J, and I was like, this guy looks like he's like a 45-year-old dude. Like,
He's 51.
Yeah. And it's James Ledger,
Exactly.
an actor who's been around for years and years, been in a lot of stuff. I happen to met him, a great guy. But yeah, it was just like Dr. J, okay. But I was, I'll sit back and just, buy it, I guess. But
I think for me, my major issue with these two episodes, now that we're into the NBA season and the playoffs are coming up on the show, is I don't understand having to just make up the games and the scores. Like, none of that stuff is real. Like, they're talking about the road trip after Christmas. That didn't happen. Like, they make it seem like the first time the Lakers play the Celtics is right after Christmas in Boston. Well, that's not true. They played in December in LA, and the Lakers blew them out. And then the next time when they played in Boston, Magic only had 1 point. And that game didn't end on a Michael Cooper alley-oop.
Yeah.
It ended on Norm Nixon shooting free throws. Like, I don't know why there's so much drama in the truth. Why do we have to kind of fiction up fake scores and fake games and fake road trips? Like, I think for me, just when we have all the information available, like, we can go on Basketball Reference and see exactly what happened, when it happened, against who, how many points they scored. It's really easy to find out this information.
yeah, but I guess
Why did they choose to do that? I think that's my major issue with what's going on.
And
right
I see
now.
what you're seeing, but I mean, a Magic Johnson 1 point game on TV is not going to be that exciting. So I'm sure that a lot of these games are maybe compilations of different games. I get why they do it. It just makes it more exciting, and it kind of maybe makes the story flow a little bit more free. But I definitely see what
Yeah,
you're
I
saying,
guess, but
especially when we can go back and be like,
Right.
well, but then that brings us to the point. We have to understand. This is
It's a TV show.
TV show.
It's a TV show.
Not a documentary. It's a docu-series.
And I can see why people that like Jerry West and Magic would be upset with, especially Jerry West, because the average person that doesn't even look up stats or really what happens, like, at least we're looking back and seeing what really happened.
Right.
They just assume, even though it says, yeah, this is a drama, they assume everything is real. That's just how people are.
Yeah.
There are people who watch TV who think those people on TV are like real doctors in real life if they're like an actor, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So of course they're gonna think everything is the truth that's happening in this, and so I can see why Jerry West is upset with what's happening with him, because
Yeah,
his
of course I can
portrayal is
understand. I'm
completely
sure
off.
if I was Jerry West, I might be upset as well. But to try to take it so far as demanding a retraction from HBO,
That's a little
and-
too much. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a little over the top because it's a TV show. I mean, I guess TJ, you pointed out too, like, we are rational people who understand how
Yeah.
TV and Hollywood and all this stuff works. And, Joe Blow doesn't, oh man, Jerry West, that guy was an a-hole. Well, I mean, that didn't actually happen. He didn't throw his trophy through the
And
through
obviously,
his window.
I don't think if
his
it was-
office didn't have windows.
Great point.
So it's like,
Yeah. And obviously, if Jerry West was a monster, he would not have been chosen for the logo, right? Like, that's just one thing
Right.
that's not going to happen. You're not,
Right.
if he was as bad. And by the way, if you've noticed, after the first couple episodes, it's kind of been smooth, a little smoother.
I thought he's been great. His portrayal, I think, has been awesome.
Yeah, so maybe
since
that was
then.
it, Chris.
Yeah.
Maybe it was like you got to Jerry West. He's still like not over these losses, which
Right.
obviously ate at him. And he's got all this pressure. He doesn't want to coach, but he knows he's good at something.
Yeah.
And it's more of evaluating. So maybe that, we're going to see that roller coaster where he was so hot and just so angry, but now he's like, all right, I'm settling into like, this is my lane and I'm good at this and I can do this.
And as we know, in the last 30 years, he's one of the best
Of all time.
ever do it.
Yeah.
What I really liked about the last episode was the acting of Jason Segel. His you could see the inner turmoil
Yes.
he had in terms of, should I take over this team with Pat Riley, or should I give it back to the guy who started this, and Jack McKinney? And I think Jason Segel did an awesome job. Same with Adrian Brody.
Yeah.
Is trying to figure out what exactly they should do. And Pat Riley was the devil on his shoulder, saying, this is our
This
team.
is
This
our
is our
team.
team.
Yeah.
And I think he was right. I think Pat Riley.
yeah.
But you could see how conflicted.
Yeah,
that-
of course. Yeah. Because that guy brought you there,
Yeah.
right? And also that scene where Jack comes in and he talks to Paul, right? And he's telling him about how, like, you pick an assistant and you don't want to have a guy who's just there to be your lackey, right? He said to him, he goes, and you know why I picked you? Because you basically saying that, like, you didn't have any, what was it, like any thoughts.
He wasn't a threat.
You weren't a threat. Like you weren't that smart.
Not the guy.
You're not that guy. So I could choose you to be. And like that had to be tough because this guy was sitting there. He really wanted to hold it down for you. Yeah. He knew what the right thing was, even though they were having all this success. Yeah. It was killing him because he knew what they were doing was right. But he also knew, like, well, this is his system. He brought me here. I wouldn't be here without him. That conflict. You're right. Yeah. Jason Segel did a great job, and that was tough to kind of see him get dressed down like that because, Jack had to feel like, he comes in the locker room, they're whipped creaming each other and they're having fun. And he's like, yo, this is my team. I put this together, And then the whole situation with Spencer Hayward, man, that was rough. Like Pat going, look, we could get Bob McAdoo and him being like, no, and then telling Spencer while they're at his house.
Yeah, that was messed up.
Man,
and
that
it put
was
Spencer
rough.
in a spiral when he started smoking crack after that.
Yeah, that was tough. That was tough to watch.
Adrian Brody as Pat Riley is so good.
Yeah.
I love him as Pat Riley.
Yeah, he's doing a great job.
And you talk about the devil on his shoulder. I mean, and history has shown that Pat was right.
Yeah.
And we know in a couple of years Pat takes over and off we go. All right, that's going to do it this week. We've been talking long enough. Enjoy the games. They've been awesome. Let's hope they stay that way. And we will see you guys next week. Adam, TJ, great job. Thanks, guys.
All right, take care, everyone.
Later.